Welcome to the recap of this time Challengers Tata Steel. I'm going to show you the game between Max Warmerdam and Arjun Erigaisi. We had the Catalan Opening. Let me tell you, it was a queen sack again by this dude. c4, e6, g3. It was kind of different move order to reach the Catalan. d5, bishop g2, and after knight f6, knight f3, we slowly get into the real Catalan. Castling, and now dc4. We had this in the game between Magnus Carlsen and Anish Giri. Magnus played knight a3, but here Warmerdam plays queen c2, hitting on c4, and Black plays principal. He plays b5, trying to defend this pawn on c4, and now White breaks his pawn chain with a4. It's not possible to play c6 because after capturing, you cannot recapture back because of knight g5. It's not possible to go knight d5 because of queen h7 checkmate. And Black is just losing a rook. So after a4, there's also a line like bishop b7. White can capture on b5 and then to go a6. With a small trap, not allowing queen to take on c4 immediately because of ab5 and losing the rook because the queen is under attack. So after a6, White can capture on a6, and after knight a6, basically Black is giving up the pawn after queen c4, bishop d5, but he has a very active bishop on the long diagonal, so it kind of compensates the whole missing pawn. He chose to play b4 here. Warmerdam plays knight d2. It's not good to play queen c4 immediately, because now the queen gets hit by the bishop by bishop a6. And after this, Black just gets good development by knight bd7, getting c5 next maybe, or just rook c8, c5. And also there is one interesting line here. If White goes knight e5 playing for concrete stuff, then Black just sacrifices the exchange by knight e5. If bishop a8, then queen d4. There's lots of compensation since White's queenside is still not developed properly. The bishop has to go back, let's say, rook d8. The knight and the bishop are not entirely happy about their position. If bishop b3, then there's queen c4 even, offering the trade. After this, knight c4. If bishop a7, then you can take on b2, and you have these two pawns which are not naive at all. You have some good pressure on this diagonal as well. I would say that Black is pretty comfortable in this position. White doesn't take on c4 immediately. He wants to go knight d2 to recapture with the knight. He doesn't lose any time on queen c4, bishop a6. Now knight d5 by Black and knight c4. And here it's time to play c5 for Black, because if he doesn't do it in time, then White is going to play knight e5 or knight a5 and forever stop this c5 break. dc5, bishop c5, and now e4. This knight on d5 is very good, so it has to be kicked away. And now knight b6 by Black, trying to exchange off this knight on c4. But White says, no, I'm going to go back and go to b3 maybe next to challenge this bishop on c5. Black goes knight d7, finishing development. And now a4, trying to disconnect the b4 pawn from his a7 colleague. And now Black goes for bishop a6, because what else to play? The knight is trapped on b6. So he uses this small tactic to go bishop a6 to attack the bishop. And now Max took on b6, and Black plays rook c8 first, because simply taking on f1 wouldn't do much. So now after rook c8, the threat is bishop f2 to capture the queen. White didn't care about this. He took on a6, but the best choice here was to go queen d1, and after bishop f1 to go for b7. And the point of b7 is to somehow deflect this rook from the c file, because it really helps to not have the rook on c file if you want to develop properly, like knight b3, bishop goes back, and so on, because the pawn on b4 is really annoying in this position. So b7 is really useful in that case. So if rook c7, knight f1, Black has to spend some time to recapture the pawn. And after bishop b3, White is doing excellent here, because he's going to develop his knight to, let's say, d2 and c4. And with two pieces, I think he's gonna have a better coordination of pieces. So White played rook a6. This was the fatal mistake. which white made in this game, and now black took on f2, king f2, and now rook c2. This would be okay if white had a good coordination of pieces, but he doesn't have it in this position. Look at the knight on b1, bishop on c1, they're just buried at the bottom of the board. Now his only hope is the a pawn, but now black just plays knight b6, king goes back to g1, and now queen c8, small tactic in the end, hitting the rook on a6 and also the bishop on c1. And also, what's more important, it's hitting c5 as well. If the rook moves anywhere to the a file, let's say to a1, then I can just take on c1, finish the job. So white took on b6, but now there's queen c5 hitting the rook, and after king h1, queen takes b6, and again, it's so tough to coordinate these pieces. He tried something with knight f3, but after queen a7, this last hope of saving the game was gone, so he tried bishop f4 to get his pieces active, but now he's losing the b pawn, and the b pawn from black is going to be a very dangerous asset. Knight bd2, and now queen a2, also a very strong move, hitting on g2 indirectly, so the knight cannot move from d2. Rook c1, and now rook d8. And in this position, white resigned because black is going to play next h6, just capture on d2. Once he makes a loop with h6, he's going to capture on d2, and there's nothing to be done. Let's say something like h3 happens, then h6, bishop f1, and then I can take on d2. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section, I will answer to you. And that's it, I'm going to post more videos, more interesting games from Tata Steel, both Masters and Challengers. If I find something interesting, see you soon. Bye.